Hey guys, what's up? It's Pop Rocks, and we're back with another Stadium Concept video. Today we're going to be talking about Ramattra, one of my favorite tanks when it comes to his lore. And yeah, I'm not going to waste your time. Let's just get into the archetypes, and then of course the powers for the archetypes, which if you don't know what I mean by archetype, go back to my Sombra video I did a few days ago or a couple weeks ago, depending on when I upload this, I'm not sure yet. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, archetypes. So, I only have 3 archetypes for Ramattra, and I had 4 for Sombra, because what we're doing is baseline Ramattra is going to have 4 powers per archetype, versus Sombra, who I could think of more archetypes, but less powers for each. Aside from, one I had 4 and one I had 5, but we're ignoring that. So yeah, just wanted to briefly explain that before we actually get into the first archetype for Ramattra, which is... As you just saw, this first archetype is called Omnic Leader Ramattra, and the idea is prioritizing his Omnic form, his base form, and team utility, or more of a team play style rather than his Brawler Nemesis form, which we do have an archetype for. So let's get into his first power, which is Supply Burst. What happens is Ramattra will hold up his shield button like he's about to place it, but then he can press his quick melee button, and visually he'll grip and crush his shield, and then it'll spread to him and allies around him, sort of like Wrecking Ball's adaptive shields, giving up to 5 allies 200 shields at max. However, it is only going to be for 2.5 seconds. And I mean, probably over health, but Now, the reason I chose to do this is because, well, I don't think Wrecking Ball is going to come to the stadium for quite a while. I think Ramattra will come first, and this is a decent way to have something similar to a hero, make it strong, but it's only for 2.5 seconds, and so it'll be mostly strong on like a tracer, but it lasts so little time that it's much better mid-fight before he goes into Nemesis form while he's in Omnic form. So this is to incentivize less Nemesis and more Omnic usage for Ramattra. After Supply Burst, we have Strategic Placement. With Strategic Placement, what happens is when you place down your shield, instead of immediately going on cooldown, it will now be in use for its duration, and when you press the ability button again, you can move your shield only forward, but you can still move it. So that way you can kind of use it as sort of a moving shield if you just want to hold it down while pressing your primary fire, just to kind of, use it as a pushing force, or maybe put it behind them, even if it started in front of you. I don't know, I figured it would be good to let you move the shield somewhat to have more strategic placement of it. For our third of 4 Omnic Leader Ramattra powers, we have Motivational Vortex. With Motivational Vortex, what happens is when Ramattra throws down his Ravenous Vortex, him or his allies can then enter it and use their jump button and get an updraft-like effect, basically making his Vortex double as a movable, or I guess placeable, jump pad in a way. Because if we're not going to get that in the main game, we might as well try to do it with a character or two in Stadium. Just have a little fun with it, basically make a jump pad. I don't know, figure this could be fun, let Ramattra get to high ground a little easier if he takes the power, help his less vertically inclined teammates, because I know May has something to get up there, but Cass doesn't really, so you could help out a Cass, or if they add, I don't know, or he could help a Cass, he could help an Ana, he could help any other not so mobile character on his team to get to the higher ground with him. So I think that'd be good team play opportunity, as well as versatility for Ramattra in Stadium. For the final power for this first archetype is called Vengeful Sight. Vengeful Sight essentially adds another bounty system for Ramattra specifically. So how it works is when Ramattra loads in and the match starts, he'll be given a random enemy hero. Now they can have a little visual thing, I don't care. Either way, he'll get a random enemy hero. Now, for that round, every round from then on, when he kills that enemy, he'll have a little counter that just says X1, X2, X3, X4 with their icon and hero name. And then by the end of the round, he will then get a new bonus on top of those bonuses you see there, like damage done, healing done, kills, etc. He'll have one that says target eliminated X 8 times, let's say. So you kill a Freya 8 times. You get 150 stadium cash times 8, and that's how much additional stadium cash you get for killing that enemy. So it is useful to get, however, it will not be like insane, but it's a decent little bonus, so you can increase it if you need to from 150 per kill to, let's say, 200 or 300, so that way it's a little bit more useful. But I think this was a decent place to start for the numbers, because if you do 150, you get 2 kills, that's 300, you get another kill, that's 450, and it just kind of goes like that. And with a stadium, you can get a lot of kills or you can get very few kills. I think Ramattra is going to be one of those characters that if it's a good match, he's going to be getting a lot of kills. So if he can kill that Freya a lot, beautiful. If he can't, oh well. But either way, I think this was a decent place to end off the Omnic Leader Ramattra. The next archetype for Ramattra is none other than... Considering Omnic Leader Ramattra focused on his Omnic form, I'm sure you can guess what Nemesis Brawler is going to focus on. That's right, it's going to focus on his Nemesis form. So let's get into his first power, which is going to be Focused Strikes. For Focused Strikes, what happens is every time Ramattra lands a consecutive pummel punch, his cooldowns are reduced by 0.5 seconds. This would not affect his Nemesis form baseline, but if he was using Annihilation, it would affect his Nemesis cooldown if he has one active. And I think this would just be good to kind of keep his flow going while not overcomplicating Nemesis form yet or doing anything too crazy. So you could like lower it from 0.5 second cooldown reduction to like 0.3 seconds, 0.25, whatever would be best for balancing. Because I'm not the best balancer, I just spitball and give you an idea of what I want it to look like. So yeah, that is the first power for Nemesis Brawler Ramattra. His next power is called Ruinous Nemesis. Ruinous Nemesis is easily the most simple power of them all in this entire video, let alone for Nemesis Brawler Ramattra, but it's just that Ramattra Nemesis form becomes a miniature annihilation. So lower tendril damage, lower radius, exactly like the April Fool's one. It's just both of them are annihilation. So yeah, that's about it. His third Nemesis Brawler power is called Ramattra. Ramattra is also pretty similar and simple to Ruinous Nemesis, which is that it's basically just Reinhardt's old perk of his little mini shield bash. Think of it like a shield bash just kind of knock people back, or we could give him instead when he hits block, he can press his primary fire to do like that kind of little bash, or he could instead do a little dash forward, but that would be up to whoever is like making Ramattra powers and just decides. I think both could be good, but if you were going to do like the movement, kind of like Brig Bash, I would definitely make it to where it's only like 3 meters, so it's like not really usable for movement very much, but it's like kind of just good to like push them back and then advance a tiny bit. But I would just go with the old Rhine perk and how that worked. For the final Nemesis Brawler Ramattra power, we have Extendo Punch. Extendo Punch works like this. Ramattra gets an extra 2 meters on his pummel range. However, now pummel only does 80% of its original damage, So instead of doing, let's say, 100 damage, he'll do 80 damage. So it's a 20% down. Obviously, it doesn't do 100 damage with pummel, but just example for example's sake. And yeah, that is Nemesis Brawler Ramattra finished. On to the final Ramattra archetype, which is Stance Flow Ramattra is decently simple to grasp. It is trying to make the transition between Omnic and Nemesis form either smooth or add something to that transition, making it more advantageous to flow between the two rather than mostly stay in Omnic form or mostly stay in Nemesis form. With that out of the way, let's get to the first power for Stance Flow Ramattra, which is called Nanite Execution. For Nanite Execution, Ramattra will damage with his Void Staff, building nanites on a target, and then once the nanites have been built up to peak build up, then they will have sort of a glow or an effect on them that you can see, and then you enter your Nemesis form, and when you hit a pummel on them, the nanites will then explode, doing bursting. I think this was a good way to incorporate using your Omnic form before Nemesis form in more your-sided ways, so instead of popping Nemesis defensively, you can pop it more actively, not only to push forward, but also if you build up nanites on multiple targets, then you can kind of make a bunch of people explode at once, which will do a decent amount of damage to everybody. After Nanite Execution, we have Void Repair. For Void Repair, Every 200 critical damage Ramattra does with his Void Staff will add 50 armor to his next use of Nemesis form, with a cap of 150 additional armor. This is to incentivize actually using your Nemesis form effectively rather than just random spam damage before popping. Sorry, your Omnic form before popping Nemesis form. So I'm trying to like give you a couple powers to like incentivize actually using your Omnic form to its capabilities with the headshot damage and all that before actually going into your big bulky Nemesis form. For our second to last power of Stance Flow Ramattra, we have Aura of Authority. Aura of Authority is similar to Lucio's Crossfade. When Ramattra is in his Omnic form, allies within 10 meters of him will gain 20% movement speed, and then allies within 10 meters of him when he's in Nemesis form will gain 20% attack speed. This is to kind of make a sort of semi-supporty Ramattra that is still focused on repositioning when he's in Omnic form, which is, base kit, his weaker form, and then moving in and attacking in his stronger form where he already has the movement speed increase from Nemesis, so figured having another movement speed on top of that wouldn't make sense. So, Aura of Authority was born. Ramatra's final power for Stance Flow Ramattra archetype and the entire video is called Resourcefulness. The way Resourcefulness works is decently simple. It's similar to the Sombra timer extender, except it doesn't extend any timers. What happens is, when Ramattra exits his Nemesis form prematurely, any armor he had in Nemesis form when he canceled Nemesis form, it will be transferred temporarily to his Omnic form for either a few seconds or it'll just be non-recoverable armor, which I don't know how they would, make that visually distinct, but still, yeah, that is my final power for Ramattra. With that, this ends my Stadium Ramattra concept. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments on any of my archetypes or powers in specific, please leave them, in the comments. I'm going to try to put chapters out a little sooner than I did on my Sombra video, which if you haven't seen that, check that out. Spread it around. I would really appreciate it and all that. Like, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.